Time is an unstoppable and irreversible continuity that flows in a straight line. However, if we somehow manage to bend time, we could create a passage that combines space and time, a black hole with an entrance and an exit. And passing through this passage means traveling through time. Perhaps a civilization more advanced than ours has already achieved this. Now, we will see people who are said to have somehow achieved this in different time periods. Don't go anywhere after this, because we will examine whether these are real or not. Let's start the journey with someone famous, Sergei Ponomarenko. On a street in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, a man looking around in confusion, dressed in different clothing, caught the eye of police officers on patrol. The officers approached the man, who was dressed strangely and had an old brand camera around his neck, and asked, "Are you looking for something?" Sergei said, "How do I get to Pekolova Street?" When the police found out that no such street existed, they realized something was strange. When they asked for his ID, they were in for a big shock, because the ID showed he was born in 1932. He looked exactly like the person in the photo. Moreover, the ID didn't look like it was 76 years old at all. The police, thinking this man who was looking around in confusion wasn't feeling well, took him to a clinic. Wednesday, April 23rd, 2006. Noon. The person you see is the real footage of Sergei. He is looking around in a dazed and confused state. About 1 minute later, a nurse arrives. Sergei, focusing on the phone in the nurse's hand, stares at it, unable to understand what it is. 5 minutes later, he goes in for a consultation with the doctor. During the conversation, when asked, "What's wrong with me?" Sergei thought he was sick, but what he was experiencing was very different from that. When the photos taken by Ponomarenko were developed, some interesting images were found. Some pictures were of the capital Kiev from the 1950s, and there were also photos of Sergei Ponomarenko. But one picture, apart from these, completely changed the course of the event. The picture shows a UFO-like object. Was this the reason why Sergei said, "At the last moment I saw some lights, and then I found myself on a street in Kiev"? Had an advanced extraterrestrial civilization sent him to another time period? The next day, in the morning, Sergei met with the doctor again. He still couldn't make sense of what had happened. The doctor asked a few questions about the pictures, and then Sergei left the room. He headed towards his own room, and he was never heard from again. It is thought that he either escaped or was kidnapped. No one could understand how he left such a room. After 2 years had passed, a letter arrived for Valentina, a friend of Sergei's from the past. A photo of Sergei inside the letter shocked Valentina and everyone who would later see it, because in the picture, Sergei Ponomarenko had taken a picture with Kiev in the background. But the strange thing was that none of these buildings existed in Kiev. In reality, Kiev looks like this. Looking at the photo, it seemed Sergei had traveled to the future. When the Research Bureau investigated the event and examined past records, they found that someone named Sergei had talked about the future on a radio program in 1960, giving information that in the future, people build tall buildings and heat food in an oven at home. Things are really getting strange. Did this event actually show that time travel is possible, that it can be done? We will find out soon. That scene from the Charlie Chaplin film. An Irish filmmaker, while examining Charlie Chaplin footage, saw a scene recorded in 1928. In the scene in question, he noticed the image of a tall person in a long black coat who appeared to be talking on the phone while walking down the street. This had really seemed interesting to him, because this person was walking with their hand to their ear, as if talking on the phone. Moreover, it was clear from their mouth movements that they were saying something. But how could this be possible decades before the invention of the telephone? an image from a boxing match. In 1995, Mike Tyson had returned to the ring after a long break. The match was in Nevada, that place where Area 51 is also located. The audience had packed the place to capacity. However, during and after the match, although no one noticed at the time, one of the spectators in the front rows was recording the match with something resembling a phone. In 1995, when camera phones had not yet been invented, this phone-like device recording the match, according to conspiracy theorists, could be nothing other than a modern-day smartphone. This person had either come from the future or was an extraterrestrial belonging to a civilization with advanced technology. All these strange events occurring in time waves are merely realities or stories that need to be researched and uncovered. Sergei Ponomarenko is a young man in his 20s. Although his experiences seem truly extraordinary, there are some gaps in the story. For example, right at the beginning, it said the police found him on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2006, but that date actually falls on a Sunday, not a Tuesday. Besides, the date shown in the clinic records is also wrong. In the footage from the same day, the date is shown as Wednesday, even though it was a Sunday. Ponomarenko told the doctor he was born on June 17th, but his ID says he was born in March. The dates shown before Sergei left the doctor's office and as he was leaving were also incorrect. According to the date and time, it takes Sergei 1 day to pass through the door. Excuses like slips of the tongue or the camera's date not being set can be found for all these. But listen to this. A pose of Sergei taken in front of a future Kiev. If you look at the buildings in the picture, you can immediately see the oddity. It is clearly seen that some buildings are copied and pasted identically 3 to 4 times. So much so that even the Empire State Building has been added here. That's not all. A poster put up to find Sergei after he disappeared. So, a picture taken before 1970. But this picture is exactly the same as the one he claimed to have taken in the future. The lapels of his coat, the shirt he's wearing underneath, the stance of everything is exactly the same. Only his head seems to have been changed. Actually, if they hadn't tried to save costs and had been a bit more professional, for instance, if they hadn't copied the buildings, taken the picture in a different place with different clothes, and considered the dates and times, this story could have been more believable. In this scene from the Charlie Chaplin film, we saw the person holding something like a phone. Although this seems nonsensical, it is actually thought to be a device used at that time, a hearing aid. Hearing aids had primitive technology back then. Initially, this technology was much more primitive. Thankfully, it shrunk over time so people didn't have to carry these around with them. Although this last thing I said was a joke, this was really a device designed to hear sound more loudly. So, the thing this person is holding in their hand is probably a hearing aid. But I don't understand him talking to himself. Maybe he just bought the device and is testing it. Who knows? We have come to our last event, the cell phone recording at the 1995 boxing match. These images were once so talked about that some people, solely based on this, even accepted that time travel was definitely happening. Actually, with a little research, they could have seen that this was one of the photo cameras from the 90s. Yes, this is just a vertically designed photo camera. In fact, if you look carefully, you can see the person recording placing their eye against the viewfinder. In summary, the things you see or hear are sometimes fabricated or exaggerated, just to make you feel a bit excited, or to make you say, I wonder if it's possible. But conspiracy theories may not always remain just theories. In the next video, we will examine theories that are truly believed to involve time travel or whose opposite cannot be proven. You can subscribe and like the video for this. See you in the next video.